everyone. Looks like we are live. Welcome to another live stream. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here and hanging out. And we have Mr. Willie. How are you, sir? Always great to see you right out of Massachusetts. And we have Dwayne. How you doing, sir? Great to see you out of California. Great to see you. Mr. Mike Deloach, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So great to see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Much appreciated. I always look forward to hanging out, talking about art, going over technique, and just kind of chilling together. So that's always like one of my most richest pleasures is hanging out with this live stream. That is the focus of everything in my live stream in these videos. Is the idea of the camaraderie. Mr. Paul, all the way from Indiana. How you doing? Paul, are you getting a lot of snow? I know there's a snowstorm coming. So great to see Dwayne, and that's amazing. So you guys are great. And so today we're going to do part 2 of this lovely lady, Paola Rey. Paola Rey is I think she's a Venezuelan actress. She did a lot of telenovelas in the 90s, 2000s. Just very stunning, stunning person to paint. So that's why I picked her. And just a great way to look at the anatomy, going over how to turn forms. And that's, hey honey, how are you? Great to see you. How's everything? So I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, whether it's Hanukkah, Festivus, Christmas. You know, I just want to wish you, I hope that this is just going to be like the most incredible holiday season for you guys ever. That's my wish. And so, let's see what we have. And it's never the quantity, it's always the quality. And I have great quality people here. And that's all that matters. Honestly, I feel that way. I'd rather have 10 people who are, you know, really authentic and cool and everything than have, you know, 75 people who I don't even know who they are, where they come from. So honey is from Long Island, New York. Great to see you again. So that is fantastic. So here we are. So I have this shield. It's basically a custom shield. And rather than go ahead and have one of these, wouldn't it be better to have one custom made to match my drawing, my line drawing? And so for me, I always want to be as exact as possible. So that's my thing, is, you know, getting everything to exactitude as possible, because it helps me to not cut corners, to not try and you know, not give it my all. This way, my all is in the preparation, you know? Oh, well, Mike is authentic. I know he is. Even your imaginary self is authentic there, Mr. Mike. That's for sure. Now, what I'm going to do... Hey, Mr. Todd, all the way from San Diego. How's it going? So I'm looking for my glasses. They might be out here in the kitchen. I have no idea why they're in the kitchen, but they're in the kitchen. So, doesn't make much sense, but then again, I don't often do. So, okay, so now I have my glasses. So I'm so glad that Mr. Mike Todd is here. And so that's a very existential thought, right? About being imaginary. Aren't we all, right? If you think about it. And so as far as the contest, I'm going to try and get the answer by Christmas Eve. I think that would be pretty cool. I'm going to do an impromptu. I just want to make sure that I have an impartial judging of this, because I have my own point of view. I don't want that to get involved, you know, as far as like who I know, who I have an affinity for. And it would just not seem fair if I was to judge it. So I'm trying to get that by Christmas Eve, so I have a couple of days to actually get the answer. Honey, wow, thank you so much. The $20 super chat. I thank you. That is so generous. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, honey. Happy holidays. That is so amazing. And you know, thank you so much for supporting the channel and doing your part to keep this alive. You know, keep this going every week, and you know, the super chat means everything. So thank you so much. You are amazing, honey. Thank you. And look at Colette. How you doing? All the way from Wisconsin. So we have a good amount of Midwesterners here. So thank you once again, honey, for the amazing super chat. That is just so great, and I'm so touched. Thank you so much. So I'm very happy about that. So I already have my detail mixture in here, and it's a straight detail mixture. And what I'm going to do now, since everything is thoroughly dry, maybe I'm going to come in and start erasing a little bit. You know, nothing like crazy. This Faber-Castell 7058 is good because it's aggressive, but not too aggressive. And what I'm going to do is I'm really going to try and erase out some of the anatomy of her nose. And the nose, everyone always says, Tim, I have trouble with the nose. And yes, it is. You know, it's not easy. But when we break it down into its anatomical forms here, we can see that there are 6 parts of the nose. So the top 2 parts, and there's a left and right of everything, are the nasal bones. Those are the only actual bones in the nose. And then we have the upper lateral cartilages. That's basically on both sides, just below the nasal bones. And then down here, which is the most interesting, are the alar cartilage. And alar means wing, I believe, in Latin. So a lot of these anatomical terms are quite interesting because if you actually decipher them or translate them to English, it will definitely tell us exactly where it is, what it does, what it looks like. So being a student of anatomy, that really does help. And so now I'm just working on this alar cartilage here. And you see the alar cartilage has two parts, right? A left and right. And then it goes right down the middle. So there's a certain degree of symmetry in most people. Unless someone got a broken nose or something like that. So right now I'm working at the front part of the alar cartilage. And that's the lower part that you see there. And I'm just very lightly with the eraser kind of erasing out some detail. That probably is the best way to handle it. And then over here, right above the alar cartilage, you have this upper lateral cartilage. And it widens a little bit here. So the upper lateral cartilage, which is right above the alar cartilage, or the tip of the nose, is the widest part, which is the upper lateral. And then it gets thinner with the nasal cartilage most of the time. But knowing these 3 parts of the nose will go a long way in helping us to not be so intimidated by it. And it's so easy for us to be intimidated by it. So, okay, so we worked on the nose a little bit. We'll come in with some detail. But right now we have this eraser, and let's enjoy the properties of the eraser. So if I go ahead and zoom into her eye here, and we're going to look at the shape of the upper eyelid. And let me remove the alar cartilage picture. Okay, and let's focus. Hocus pocus. There we go. Okay. Now, if I'm looking at the camera right eye, you see that there's much more room here in the upper eyelid as it goes towards the corner of the eye on camera right. So let's see if we can make this happen. Okay, so here we are. So down here we have a little more flesh as this lower eyelid kind of spills into the face here. So you see that as it comes down. Now, why is this a good time to erase? Because it's thoroughly dry. We're not going to have any issues whatsoever with tearing up the paper because this paper is thoroughly dry. I haven't touched it since last week's live stream. So now you can see we can really shape this upper eyelid. So there's like this whole there's different ways of thinking when painting, and some ways of thinking, not say they're valid or invalid, but to go ahead and finish that eye and then move on to the other eye. What are some of the advantages? Some of the advantages is that you're able to develop that eye and really concentrate on doing the detail of that eye. The disadvantage is that, as you can see, if I work on one eye and then I don't work on the other eye, there's going to be an imbalance. And what you want when you paint or do anything, whether it's music, painting, anything, you want balance. So you're going to lose that degree of balance. So let's go ahead, since we worked on the camera right eye, let's work on the eye on camera left. Mr. Tone, all the way from Florida, how are you, sir? Jacksonville, to be specific. How's everything going, my friend? I'm so glad to see you, Tone. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the eyelid. And the eyelid isn't particularly, difference in size like the other one is. So I'm just going to come in and maybe work on the light, and then it kind of bleeds out like a creek going into the river or something like that, right? So see, we have that, which is really good, and we're just developing. And now we developed one eye and then we developed the other eye, so we have balance. And now we can take our airbrush and perhaps we can start working on some detail. But before we do, let's see if we can shape these irises a little bit. Even though I have the freehand shield here, I don't need it because I'm not airbrushing right now. So right now I'm just going to work on the shapes of those irises because I want to get them right. And then we're going to work on both eyes. Whatever you do on one eye, it's always good to do on the other eye. And bring them together, you know? I think the advantages of working both eyes at one time don't outweigh the disadvantage where you don't have a unified painting. And for me, I want to do like Angra, is make the painting feel like it was done all in one breath, bring the painting up together, and this way, you have a unified organism, a person, which is really, I feel, is the best route to go. Okay, so now we have my detail mixture in here, and I always put my glove in my pocket when I'm not using it, which is bad because I put it in the laundromat and then in my pocket my glove gets washed, which I don't want it to be washed. Okay, so we have our detail mixture in here, and let's see if we could go ahead and just do a little more detail in the eyes. And we're going to work on the eye on camera right. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and we're just going to do the 1 second rule. Paint for a second. Look for a second. Then paint for a second. And I'm sort of drawing with that brush, sketching with that airbrush. I'm not modeling forms yet. That comes later. Right now I'm just kind of, working out the drawing, getting those shapes correct. And same thing here, kind of setting the tone for this tapestry, the framework that is going to be basically throughout the painting. And you can see how I'm kind of setting that up. See if I can lighten this just a tad so you can see it. How's the picture and sound quality going, everybody? Pretty good, I hope. I'm going to go ahead and work on the pupil a little bit. Rome's not built in a day, so I'm not trying to get definition. Right now I'm just doing the best I can with this detail mixture, building up these values slow, because you definitely don't want spidering. Spidering's bad. It's not our friend. And Mr. Roy, how you doing? Great to see you. All right, Roy, all the way from New Jersey. And just ever so lightly, I'm just going to show the under eyelid, the form of the under eyelid. It's pretty flat. It's not really turning in this photo. So you don't want to make stuff up. If you see things are turning in your image, then of course you have the green light. And I do have some erasing to do in here, but you know what? That all in good time. And now I'm going to work on the retroorbicularis oculi fat, which is this right here. And that's a fat compartment that's above the upper eyelid, below the eyebrow, and on the outside. There's a fat compartment there. There's no fat here, it's only on the outside of the eye, which is great. So, yes, Roy's decorations are unbelievable, Colette, I agree. And let's go ahead and put a little more definition in Paola's eyebrow. And I'm going in the direction of the hairs. Always want to go to the grain of whatever you're painting. Grain of the skin, grain of the hair, grain of the clothes, grain of the leaves. Everything is going with the grain, the natural orientation and direction that things are going. Okay, so since I'm here, I don't usually do this early, but since I'm here, you see I'm going to work on some of her little eyelashes, and I'm going to be brave enough to do it with the airbrush. One second rule, right? Now if you're moving, even if you make a mistake, you're moving, so it won't be in one area. So try and move as much as possible when you're airbrushing. There's some shadow over here in the corner of the eye, corner of the white of the eye. I believe it's called the sclera, if I'm not mistaken. And I have hot chocolate today. So I just want to thank God for the ability for me to be here, the health and the apartment and the electricity and everything that allows me to do this live stream with you all here. So I'm thanking God for that right now. I try to do that in all of my live streams from now on. It's only fair if God supplies that I honor Him and mention Him. Okay, just bring this over. There we go. So now you can see. But however, what we do in one eye, everybody, well, before I do that, there's some errant hairs right here. Let's go ahead and make that happen. So notice that I'm moving pretty quickly because I want these hairs to be thin. So if I move quickly, they don't look like wires, they look like hairs, right? So that's crucial. Interesting right here, there's a little bit of a hard edge right here. So keep looking, you'll find the edge. Keep a looking. See, I just want that little bit of a hard edge right there. Perpendicular and not parallel, just like so. Give it a little more definition. And I'm still working in the detail mixture, so I'm not going to try and get like beautiful darker tones, because it's just not going to happen with the detail mixture. That comes later. So let's go work on the other eye before we get sidetracked anywhere else. So now we're here at the eye on camera left. And Mr. John Diekman, great to see you. Oh, no problem, Mr. Mike. So multitasking is good. That allows you guys to spend time with me and get stuff done. So I don't mind. Okay, so camera right, correct? And camera left, I should say. And we're just going to working on this eye. And make sure I get this shape correctamundo. And so we have that little shape there. We're going to define it even more as we go. So let's work a little bit on the crease of the upper eyelid as it intersects with the retroorbicular focal eye fat. That folds right there. See that? So not bad. And oh yes, honey, so I haven't really gotten a judge yet for that, but I think Christmas Eve is when I'm going to actually announce it. So I just wanted to make sure that I do it right as far as find someone. It's been hard with the holiday season to find someone to judge it, but I didn't want to judge it right now. So we have up to 3 different artists. So thanks for asking, honey. I appreciate that. Yeah, so definitely, I know I keep saying next week, but, you know, if you guys knew what was going on in my life, you'd understand. Not that it's an excuse, but I know you guys worked hard on doing that portrait, so I definitely realized that I should get the winner of the contest and also the get that airbrush, which I made. So here's the airbrush, right? Let me show you. Look how beautiful this is. Look how beautiful and shiny. This is the airbrush that I'm shipping out to the winner. Look how beautiful this is. This is so beautiful. And so you see it. Look how nice and shiny it is. It's been tested, all new pieces, brand new parts. Every part has been tested to make sure that it works at the optimal condition. So this airbrush will go to the winner. So that is very exciting. So it is here. I do have it. And as soon as we work out the winner, we're going to go ahead and send that out. So thanks for your patience, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks, honey. Yes, it is. I love the airbrush, you know. I think it's a real winner. So, oh, look at that. Here's the spring. But that's not the spring on the airbrush. See, that's a spare spring. So just to so that spring did not come off of the airbrush. Okay, because that would be bad. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom back into the eye on camera left. Okay. And like I said, we're not going to get the dark of the pupil right away. You don't want to try and do that with the detail mixture. That comes in time. So we're just going to, let me just move this down just a tad. There we go. Yes, definitely. Someone needs to put some miles on that airbrush. Yes, I'm happy miles. And that's what I'm really happy about, that somebody is really going to see that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get an airbrush that is going to be your favorite. It just has to have a lot of TLC when you make it. TLC, and then the person who's making it or customizing it really has the knowledge to know what is going to be needed in that airbrush and what isn't needed. There we go. So you see how we're just developing it. On top of the eyelid, this shadow is a little bit deeper here. Now it's feeling like I'm running out of ink. It might be. Let's see. So I try and get as much of the ink out of here as possible. Okay, right over here is a larger mass of the eyelashes here. We're not doing detailed eyelashes yet. That comes later. Maybe very recent, maybe soon. But right now we're working on these large shapes in this eye. And then we have the lower eyelid. Let's go ahead and indicate that. Always orient yourself to where the light is coming from. And in this particular pose, the light's in front of her, almost right above her. And so you're going to see that almost directly below the eyelid is where, the lower eyelid is where you have it slightly darker. And to get a lighter shadow, I just increase my distance. That increases the cone and disperses the ink more. And let's see. Let's go over here. And we'll just come over here like this. And then we'll just put this shadow right here. Okay, so remember before on the other eye we had kind of a good time doing those lower eyelashes. Why not? Sometimes you might feel like going in early, right? Break convention. Oh, Tone, take care. Always a pleasure. And honey, thank you for saying hit the like button. I appreciate that. You guys hit the like button if you get a chance. Okay, so let's see if we could put in some of these little eyelashes. What I like to do is I like to work on a dot and then kind of do a dagger. So dot, dagger, dot, and then a dagger. I'm going to get rid of these pencil lines. Remember, pencil lines are just little tiny training wheels. You don't get rid of your training wheels until you don't need them anymore. So you see now, just establishing, I'm going to come in and erase that, but not now because it's still wet. And then we'll hit some of these little eyelashes. Even though it's a detail mixture, I'm going to have to go over it, but at least I can indicate them. And you want to get that direction, right? You want to get the direction of those eyelashes. Very important. There we go. Alright, so pretty happy with that. You know, the eyelashes. So we worked on the eyelashes on the other eye. So let's not play favorites. And let's come over here and make sure we work just as much. Remember, unified, you're doing one person, not a bunch of little features. So you want to continue with that whole thought process of painting a person who has features, not features that has a person attached to it, right? Attached to them. Okay, so now you can see both eyes. Maybe this eye I can darken just a little bit, but I'm with the detail mixture, so there's only so much I can darken, so we'll just leave it as so. So now we're going down the center line of the body and of the face. And so what I want to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to kind of really study this, right? Because I want to be able to be very exact with this shape. I can just take a stump that I use for graphite, and this is actually pretty good because I'm not using the point of a pencil. And you can see I can really kind of very lightly work out the shape here. Because it's important that I get the shape of these three parts, the nasal bone, the alar cartilage, and the upper lateral cartilage. So I need to get that angle correct. If I don't get the angle correct, it will not be good for the painting as a whole. So let's make sure. Remember, with anything, light pressure equals lighter application. So the whole thing right now is trying to get the three-dimensional representation of these forms on a two-dimensional surface. So my job is really to make sure that I'm portraying that. Okay, see how I'm getting the shape of her nose. This is almost straight up and down as it comes down here, like so. And then this part of her nose comes in. This is the inner part of the alar cartilage. And just getting that correctly. I'm going to come back in with the airbrush. But this is a new technique which I'll use a stump that I use graphite on. And then I could really kind of draw with it, which is even more accuracy than if I was using, let's say, just the airbrush. So any kind of advantage that you have, any kind of experience that you have in other mediums, if you can go ahead, if we can go ahead and use that to our advantage, then all's fair in love and war. I don't want to hear anything like, oh, it's cheating. No, cheating is doing something you don't believe in, and I'm fine with, coming in with different mediums. I'm okay with that because the end justifies the means. Now, as far as something like AI, that's garbage, and I'm not talking about that. There's always taking it to the wrong extreme, right? And that's what I'm not mentioning. So we're just going to shorten up the cast shadow of the wing of her nostril right there. And just having fun, really working on her anatomy here. A little bit darker right here. Right here, the alar cartilage. See that? And okay, so very happy with the portrayal of her nose right now. And so that's so important. That's the crown jewel of the portrait, I think. Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat. Happy holiday, happy Festivus to the rest of us. Thank you so much, Dwayne. It means so much to the channel. I really, really, really appreciate that. That means the world to me and gives me courage and endurance to continue. And your participation and hanging out is so important, and just you guys' friendship. And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, Dwayne, for that. That means the world to me, sir. And thank you for sharing your amazing work this year. I appreciate that as well. That is so great. So definitely just thank you so much for your generosity, everybody. That is so exciting and encouraging. And so here we are. We are working on this frontal part of the nose. Remember, it's three parts: nasal bone, upper lateral, alar cartilage. Right? So that's what we're always looking for. So that's so great. So Dwayne and Honey, thank you so much for the super chat stickers. You are all amazing, and like I said, I'm just super encouraged, and it's like a tonic, like a shot in the arm in a good way when I see that. And just thank you everybody for coming to this live stream and hanging out. And like I always say, it's not the quantity at all. I don't care about the quantity. I'd rather have great people like yourself than have all the people in the world and have 1 million subscribers. That doesn't mean anything to me. That's never been my focus. And and it shows, that, I put such focus on the people, the great people who come back and everything. Oh, Dwayne says, thanks for the extras in his package. Oh, you're welcome, my friend. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with those sepia inks. That's exciting. So the pleasure's all mine, Mr. Dwayne, definitely. And thank you for ordering the sepia inks. Dwayne ordered the airbrush for me and the sepia ink, so I appreciate that so much. That really helps as well. And so right now you can see I'm going straight down that center line of Paola, right? So we did the eyes, then we're going to do the nose, then we're doing the, right now we're doing the philtrum into the cupid's bow, and we're just going to continue along there and just kind of just work things out. And so I'm just working on the shape of her lips here. Okay, so far so good. We're just going to keep that there. Let's work on the darks of her lips there. We can see just a little indication of her lips, of her teeth. And there's definitely shapes in the teeth. So let's zoom in and see if we can do. And oh, Dwayne says he loves the airbrush. Makes a great addition to his quiver. Thank you, my friend. Well, that's an honor because your work is just out of this world, sir. So it's an honor that you would actually use my airbrush. Thank you, sir. Now I can see, even though I don't have it, that there's a little bit of a going down a little bit more into that bottom lip. So I'm going to wait to fix that with the eraser. It's still wet, so we have to make like mental notes, right? That's what we have to do. So we just have to be patient, make our mental notes, and come back. And the same thing with her lips. Rome isn't built in a day, so we're just going to take our time with modeling the lips and her teeth underneath. Go. Let's see if I can move Paola over just a little bit. Excuse me, Paola. Okay. And this part isn't wet, so I can erase a little bit right here. There we go. We always want to be careful not to erase. Not to erase where it's wet, right? Again, I'm not using a super aggressive eraser, I'm using the Perfection. There we go. And always remember, you're using in the early going, you're using this very light, transparent ink. So don't try and use this to go dark. It just won't serve you. See how we have the indication of her smile in there? And then let's create some of the form of her lip. So everything has to have form, right? Whether it's the lower lip or the wrinkle on the lower lip, everything has form. And since it has form, it's our job to make it round, because light is affecting everything in the same way. And so we'll just continue. So we have this upper lip as it goes into and covered by the jowl fat right here on the corner. And that's what's causing that little bit of shadow kind of hanging over where the corner of the mouth inserts. Inserts into the inner part of her mouth. Not trying to get too specific on the side of the lips yet. That comes later. You want to really train yourself not to get too detailed in the early going. I know it's tempting, and it's tempting for me too, but I have to make sure that I stay disciplined, because if I go too early, too detailed too early, I won't be able to work out the larger shapes and model the forms from the larger forms to the smaller forms. And distance is your friend, so the more you are distance-wise, you can always get lighter. So let's take a look and see what we have so far. And I think, you know, you can see how working on these features, everything looks darker, but it really is light. It's just the fact that everything around it is much lighter. What I want to do is I'm just going to enlarge the size of the cast shadow from the nose. There we go. And just like so. Great. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's work on the sides. So that would be her zygomatic bones. And let me see if I can bring up this skull here to show you. So here is the skull, not Paola's skull, thank God. And so you see here on both sides, right here, the zygomatic bone. And the zygomatic bone on both sides, you can see how it comes down. Some people go straight across, some people go down. And as you can see, thank you so much. Roy says the painting is looking good. I appreciate that so much, sir. Now, down here you can see that there's a somewhat subtle shadow on her face from the zygomatic bone, but that real dark area is the difference in space between the zygomatic bone and the mandible, where it's called the jawbone, of course. So the cheekbone and the jawbone, they're on separate planes. So that separate plane is going to cause this really deep shadow on both sides of Paola's cheeks. So that's what we're working on, and I'm just going to move this, and we're going to go and work on Paola's cheeks, okay? So now the first area, we're going to work on the cheeks on camera right, and let's go ahead, and we got to make sure we put the magnets close to the edge, because if we don't, there's going to be underspray, and underspray is no fun. And so we can see where it's darkest over here in the corner, and then as it turns, it's not round, but it's not completely angular, so it's kind of in between, and you have a slight modulation of color here, or slight modulation of value. There's no color in this black and white portrait. And so, and then the same thing down here, you see that there's this little shadow right here on the mandible. And let's see if we can go back to our little skeleton person. And so we see like right underneath the lip, there is a, right below the mouth, you see, or right below the upper lip, you see a little bit of shadow there. And that is probably this angle right here in the actual jawbone. So let's go ahead and put that in, and we'll just move this. So when I'm painting, I'm always trying to figure out the why, not just paint it because I see it, but I want to know why, and because I want to be able to identify this in future paintings, and raise the air pressure a little bit. Okay, so now let's work this up here. And you see how we kind of make that little squaring down right here. And great, so now let's work on the other side of her zygomatic bone. Sometimes a big magnet's not good because it casts a shadow, so you get these little magnets and it doesn't cast such a crazy shadow. So right here we have, first we'll do the hair. So the hair is creating a cast shadow. And now over here is where the zygomatic bone is making itself known. And as I'm lighting it as it's turning, I'm just going to increase my distance. Increase your distance, it gets lighter and much more beautiful gradation. And those are two things that make up a beautiful depiction of value changes in the skin. Especially painting a woman, you want to make sure that you are being very subtle. If I made her all angular, she'll look like, Jack Palance or something. And although Jack Palance was a handsome man, I don't think that he's as aesthetically pleasing as Paola Rey. And we don't want to make Paola look like Jack Palance. Although I did like Jack Palance in Ripley's Believe It or Not. He was so cool in that. So you see how we are creating this whole anatomical form. So we're understanding what's underneath so we can paint what's on top. Without having the knowledge of what's underneath, what's on top, just won't work. So that's what we're doing. So we're just going to continue that whole thought process. And let's go up to her forehead. Now a lot of time we see the forehead as this kind of straight, kind of, metal plate, but there's so much going on in the forehead. And let's just look real quick at that forehead, and you can see you have the frontal bone, which has two separate areas, right? Some people more and less, there's two bumps on the frontal bone up here. You have the supraorbital eminences above the eye socket on both sides. You have this right here is the temporal ridge, and then that connects to, so the temporal ridge right here connects to that zygomatic bone, and you can see it. And you can actually see the temporal ridge in Paola. So let's go ahead with our knowledge of the skull anatomy, and let's see if we can, even in a beautiful woman, we can definitely show where her skull is. And that's very important. Okay, so we have working down here, and then right here, going from the retrorbicularis oculi fat, right here, we definitely can see that indication of this temporal ridge right here. So you see how we're showing that implication? Now, people will say, well, if I'm just eyeballing, I'm going to find it. I beg to differ, because if you don't know what to look for, chances are you won't find it. So my contention is that if you know where to look, you're going to find it a lot faster and a lot more often. I'm just going to fix that one little area right there that I see, and then just erase some of these superfluous lines here. I just didn't like the way that was looking. Okay, so now we're just going to continue with this temporal ridge here, going into the retrorbicularis oculi fat, and that's going right into our zygomatic bone, just like in the illustration of the skull. And now we'll kind of do the side plane of the skull on both sides. And on this side, look, there it is, the temporal ridge on this side, right? So we have to definitely... Mr. Squeeze, how are you, my friend? Always a pleasure. Oh, cooking dinner. I hope it's something really amazing. So that sounds great. And Mike says, it's good seeing you all, but his time is up. Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for hanging out, Mike, and all that you do with the channel. I just, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you. And thank you so much, sir. And I hope you and your family have an amazing Christmas. And you're not working too hard. I know you work hard all the time. So hopefully you can relax and take it easy this holiday season. So always a pleasure, Mr. Squeeze. I'm so glad you're here. Bob did this amazing painting of a gorilla. It was just so beautiful. The way that he went ahead and emphasized the eyes was just masterful. So great job there, Mr. Bob. And thank you for sharing that. Just really beautiful stuff. And as you can see, we're shaping that skull, modeling the form, modeling the forehead. That forehead is not, a billboard. It's round. It has things going out, things going in, and there's big forms and there's smaller forms on top of it, and we have to definitely do our best to look and emphasize the variation of forms. So you can see, if I'm really looking closely, I can see indications of that supraorbital eminences on top of the eyelid there, on the eye sockets. So those are very important to know they're there, because if I know they're there, I'm going to find them, right? So that's really crucial. And so now that I'm here, I worked on the forehead. Let me go ahead. This is thoroughly dry, so I just want to kind of calm down her lips here. It's a little too dark. The pencil lines, right? The pencil lines kind of took over. So what happens is when you're airbrushing and then you do it over the pencil lines, a lot of times those values will look way too strong, and this is a great opportunity to calm those down, right? So that's what we're doing now, just calming down some of those pencil lines, assessing it. Like I always say, we're not looking for the likeness, we're looking for the light, right? So we're looking at the larger forms, the universal and anatomical forms, such as the bone structure, the muscles, and subsequently the fat compartments. And so that's basically, and if I want to bring in very subtle tone here, I'm just going to increase my distance to like 6 inches. And you see, I can really start making those subtle changes. Even in the detail mixture, I can really start creating some of these subtle tonal changes as things go towards the light and away from the light. And that's what this live stream is basically about, modeling the forms. It's not just for fine artists, right? This is something that if you bring into your airbrush art, whether you do custom work or anything like that, and you're using the idea of actually modeling those forms, then it's just going to translate and be so much better than those who don't know how to do that. So that would be great if you did. So that's why I do very highly recommend model of forms. Make those forms turn towards the light and away from the light. And not only the major forms, which people make mistakes of that. No, you want to do it with all the forms, the major and the minor forms. The minor forms are being affected by the light and shade just in the same way as the major forms. And that's going to make a difference, going to give your work a sense of 3 dimensions of reality that, a lot of artists miss the boat. And I don't want you to be one of those artists. So That's it in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and do the negative space here of the earring. Okay, so, alright, so now we have that. And so let's move this. I think it's time for us to start working on the cast shadow of her neck. And usually I work more all over, but I wanted to really stress in this painting how it's important to model forms. And so that's what this whole painting is basically going to be about, is just modeling the forms. You feel, we just did the detail mixture and we just did the detail mixture with the white mixture, and you can see, hey Brad, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. That is so amazing. Thank you, sir. That is so great. Brad, all the way from Manitoba, California. He is doing some great stuff out there in Cali. Thank you so much, sir, for believing in the channel, for helping it grow and helping it continue. It is so encouraging. You guys are all so amazing. And just thank you so much for hanging out and, you know, believing in this. I think it's a movement. It's a good movement of just, you know, sharing knowledge and going forward. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for 2023. You know, I've been doing not live streams, but this channel has been around since 2008 was my first video. So how amazing is it that we're still going, thank God. And it's great people like yourself and everyone, you know, who attends here, and just thank you everybody. So now I have a custom shield, and I want to cover everything except for this neck area and this flesh area, because I want to start working on this cast shadow, because we have to make sure that her head is a three-dimensional form that is blocking light onto her trapezius and her sternocleidomastoid and this area right here, which is a tracheal area. So you'll never hear me say neck, because there's no such thing as a neck. It's always, the neck is a part of several different distinct forms. Oh, that's good. That's good hot chocolate, everybody. Actually, so this is a question. When hot chocolate gets cold, is that now chocolate milk? I don't know if I ever even posed that question before, but I think it's an excellent question. I love to hear your thoughts. And if you have chocolate milk and you heat it up, does it become hot chocolate? Conversely. Okay, so we want to make sure that we put this down here. But you know what? Here's an interesting point, and I think you're going to love this. Since I'm working here, I'm working over here. Since I'm working here, wouldn't it be good for me to go ahead and do the light mixture, right? Hot chocolate was never milk to begin with. Right, it's usually that water and milk kind of, water and hot water and chocolate. Mr. Todd with the $20 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Merry Christmas. That is so amazing. Thank you so much for your generosity always. I really appreciate you. You've been a wonderful supporter from the beginning with the Patreon and buying the courses. And you know what? I couldn't do without you, Todd. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm always here for you guys if you have any technical questions that little old me may be able to help you with. And so that's what I'm hoping. So what I was going to say, and thank you. So Todd, Brad, Honey, you know, you guys, and Dwayne, you guys are so amazing. I can't believe, you know, how generous you guys are today. And I just want you to know that I'm very happy and touched by it. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. You know, this is, you know, you guys believe in this, and that makes me happy. and that makes me excited and encouraged and all those good things. And 2023 going to be a great year. We're going to do new stuff. We're going to be avant-garde. We're going to, and you guys are coming with, so that's fantastic. I'm going to get this airbrush right here. I'm going to use this one right here, the Vega 1000, and I love the Vega 1000. I just have like a real soft spot for this airbrush. I always did. And I'm going to go put some white mixture because we want to go ahead and make sure we get this light area here in the skin. If we didn't do it and had it in the face, I think that would be not good. Oh, Mr. John Diekman with the $20 Super Chat sticker all the way from Wisconsin. I really appreciate that, sir. That is so wonderful. Thank you over the years, Mr. John, for helping out and being encouraging. And I remember that one time you sent that package that I sent to the wrong customer, and that was just amazing. That really helped me. I never forget that act of kindness, Mr. John. And John, look forward to talking with you and sharing with you in 2023. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your encouragement and giving me the enthusiasm. Sometimes I feel like one of Tom Brady's footballs, you know, kind of deflated. But, you know, when I have live streams like that and you guys just pour out this generosity, I'm just really, really pumped up. And I'm so glad that I did the live stream today because you guys were here. Yes, the YouTube family, our wonderful community. And that's what I think is great. Like, we only have like 11, 12 concurrent viewers, and I'm more than happy with that. If it never goes up, and I continue to have great people like you, I don't need, you know, 100,000 followers, subscribers, all that. That never was what it was about. So I'm super, super pumped that we have this community, and we all look forward to Wednesday night at 9:30. That's like our time, you know? It's so cool. Thanks again, Mr. John. I really appreciate that. Yes. Oh, so Mr. Airtod says he just has to come through with the project. It wouldn't let him do 20. No problem. $19.99 is incredibly generous. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to put the white mixture in here. The white mixture is Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, and I mix that 50/50 with distilled water, and I get this beautiful transparent white that I put through the airbrush. And I like putting it through an airbrush that has a little bigger nozzle and needle combination like the Vega 1000, and that helps me. And so, and now what we're going to do is we're going to test this out. And I want to erase some of these superfluous pencil lines here. And I'm just going to tap, because right now what we have to do is we have to go ahead and make sure that these pencil lines don't become too indelible. I mean, they won't, but, you know, I'm always weary, right? I don't want to tempt fate. Mr. Squeeze with the $20, oh my God, with the $20 Super Chat sticker. You guys are great. I think he's broke the record for Super Chats. $106 today. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, Mr. Bob. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your amazing artwork. And thank you for your friendship. I really appreciate that. Wow, you guys are really, really warming my heart today, getting me into that Christmas spirit. Thank you so much, sir. Oh my goodness. That is just so amazing. Wow. I am just like tickled to death. And everybody with these super chats, they just lighten up the screen today. Oh my God. That is just so exciting, and I'm really encouraged. I just can't tell you how much I'm encouraged here. I don't really need a lot of these pencil lines, but some are good. They're like training wheels, like where the clavicle is and stuff like that. So now I'm going to, I kind of choked down on the pack valve here because I don't have a Mac valve here. I don't have it like on the Extreme Patriot Arrow. And so I have a nice slow mist, and I'm going to be about, maybe about 4 inches away. And now I'm going to look really hard, and I'm going to see where the light areas are. Now it may look like nothing's happening, guys, but guys and girls, it really does look like nothing's happening, but it is. And you can see two things: staying clear away, like staying 4 inches away, really helps to get not a blotchiness. You want, when you're putting in the light mixture, whether in the face or other parts of her body, you want to make sure that you have that distance, because smooth gradations is really why you want this particular technique of applying the light mixture. There we go. Because when you like 4 or 5 inches away, you're getting this really transparency, and that's what you want. So in Airbrush, in Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, he doesn't have zinc white, but I think what he did when he formulated this, because he's a smart, brilliant artist, I think he had the characteristics of the zinc white, because you want that transparency of zinc white rather than titanium white, which is a real opaque white. So not all white paint is the same. Now there are advantages to zinc white that you don't have with titanium white. So the first advantage with zinc white would be that you have transparency, and that's really important when you're working in something like Airbrush, because you're always afraid of the dreaded blue shift, which you don't have in other mediums, in oils and watercolor and pastels. There's no such thing as a blue shift, but in Airbrush it is a real concern. It's like the elephant in the room, right? So you want to make sure that you are very, 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 very weary of that. Now, if you're adding zinc white, which is a transparent white, you're going to have less of a chance of blue shift. If you have that opaque white, which is a titanium white, you're going to have that blue shift. So I feel that Drew Blair probably had that in mind when making his 50/50 illustration white, because it really has, being an oil painter in the past and trained as an oil painter, I know about the different whites, the different blacks: ivory black, Mars black, bone black. All the different blacks are really important for... Oh, look at that. So Mr. Bob is cooking. Oh, thank you, Bob, for hanging out. I always appreciate that. And if you make it back, that would be good. I'm here until 11:30 Eastern time. I hope that the food is coming out really good. And buen provecho, amigo. And so you see right here, I just want to start building up this white. And thank you again, Mr. Bob, for the super chat. It's amazing. I'm so encouraged. And that is priceless. Thank you so much. So it might look like nothing's happening, but it really is. Because the 50/50 white is a transparent white, and a lot of that paper is going to show through. And that's what we want, right? We want that transparency to show we want that paper to show through. Like a glaze, right? Glazing is very important in oils. Colette! Thank you, Colette! So we have officially broke the record for super chats. $126.46 in super chats. That is like beyond amazing, beyond encouraging, beyond a shot in the arm. I mean, like a tonic. And just, Colette, I really appreciate it. Appreciate all your support and your friendship and everything like that. Yes, we are getting lots of love today, and I just want to thank you guys. It's so amazing. Such a great feeling, and I am so encouraged. This is really going to last, you know. This is a great moment in the live stream. You know, I've been doing the live streams every week almost, at least since 2017, or even late 2016. So, hey, my cat, you hear her? And so, thank you, Colette. That is so amazing. I am so encouraged. So, this is so great. Look at that. Oh, Suki, you can hear Suki the cat, right? She's meowing like crazy. Merry Christmas to you, Colette. Thank you. Wow, this is so great. So right now you can see it looks like nothing, but let's try something. Even though we're going to put it back, so I'm going to do that whole hinge thing where I kind of put the magnets on top so I can lift it and don't have to reposition it. So we're just going to put these up top, and you're going to see just how much that white has been there. So you can see it's quite a lot, right? It's not a little bit. And so we want that subtlety. But what I can do is maybe just add a little bit where not highlights, but where there's a buildup of light. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this over, and I'm just going to work on some of the areas. I'm not worried about overspray a little bit. I'm going to be more careful here. But right here I can just see where I could actually apply a little bit more of this transparent white. Right here in the clavicle, right here on the deltoid and the acromion process, right here. And then right here, a little bit more of a build-up right on the side of her pectoralis major. And then right here, there we go. So you see how we're building this up, you know? And we're just going to, just like if we were oil painting or painting in acrylic or pastel, you want to build up that light, right? Just a little bit. Now, it's not crazy, it's not too much, we still have wiggle room, but we're building up that light just a touch and just getting a wonderful kind of head start on the tonal framework of Paola. Okay, so now I'm happy. And so down here, surprising, like in her chest area, it's not getting as much light as you would think because the light is in front of her and her chest is kind of catty corner to it, right off to the side. So you're seeing more light here, and then there's light fall off quite dramatically as we go to the other far shoulder. So you definitely can see, you know, what's happening and why, right? And since I'm right here, I'm just going to put a little bit of white here on top of her malar fat right there. Mental fat, forgive me. And since I have the white, let's do this. I know it's being, so, you know, the thing is sometimes the painting is alive, right? A lot of times it just goes where the painting wants to go. And you start doing things that you normally wouldn't do. Normally I wouldn't have the white mixture this late in the painting. But since I'm here, what the heck? Let's go ahead and add some little areas of more strong white here. It is different than what I usually do, but you know what? that's you have to take chances. And this is one of those times when you all are seeing me take chances. Yeah, it is a chance because there's a chance of getting some overspray or something like that. But sometimes you have to make that experiment and say, what the hey, right? I'm going for it. So now that I have that white mixture, I kind of have this bravado here. Like, let me go ahead and try this. And so I have one of my favorite airbrushes, which is the Vega 1000. Love this airbrush. I don't really know why. I mean, it's just like a weird affinity I have for it. It's not the best airbrush. I just love it, and I always did. I'm just gonna plow the field a little bit here, and you can see now, you know, I'm getting a little further than I normally would now that I have this white mixture, and getting a little bold. So I remember that soap opera when I was a kid, The Bold and the Beautiful. So I would just be the bold. So let's go ahead and let's plow the field here. I want to put a little bit of this transparent white right here along the wing of the nostril. See that? I'm getting like really bold, right? Look at me. Write this down. Tim getting extremely bold on the live stream. Film at 11. See guys, this is what AI can't do. AI can't go outside the box. AI has to do what the programmers, who aren't that bright mind you, who the programmers tell them to do. But as artists, we can do things on the fly. We can change things. And I think that is kind of inspiring me. This kind of craziness in our society of this AI, and how it's taking something that's very intellectual and very beautiful and creative and turning it into an app that charges you $8. And people are putting it up on YouTube and I'm putting it up on Instagram and they're proud of this. And I'm like, wow, they don't know what they're doing. And you see now I can put that light there. This is so great. So I never really did it at this stage. So I may rethink the technique a little bit by maybe going in again with the white mixture in this latter stage. I think it's not bad, you know? And so let's go ahead and plow the field for the retrorbicularis oculi fat. But I really like the amount of form that's happening, and that's the name of this particular live stream, is modeling of the form, right? Look how she's turning. And oh, Mr. Roy, thank you so much for hanging out. Always a pleasure. You are the best. And I will talk to you soon. Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you before Christmas, sir. So Roy is great. He's one of my mentorship students, and he is just an amazing person. So thank you for your support in 2022. I mean, the year would not be the same without you, Mr. Roy. You know that. I hope you know that. See that? Now I'm popping out that retrorbicularis oculi fat. Not so much on this side because it's more on the shadow here. Because the light is just a little bit over to camera left. So the camera right is getting a little bit less light. So I'm not going to go too crazy. But right here, this part of her zygomatic bone is kind of facing that light most directly. And so I can actually make that go forward. And so what do you guys think? I want to hear what you think of my experiment of coming in with the white mixture in this later stage. Are you feeling good about it? What's your thoughts? It is risky because you can get blue shift in this late stage, you know, but I think sometimes it's worth the risk. go. So look at that. Look at this alar cartilage as I'm coming over here. Oh, that's really coming out quite nice. And where else we getting a little bit of light that we can put on Paola here with this extreme, this Vega 1000 and Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, diluted 50/50. So that's neat. Let's see if we can work out her forehead, some of the things that are in her forehead, that with this light mixture we can actually take it to the next level. As Emma would say, let's turn it up a notch, right? So let's go ahead. The superorbital eminences, right here, it's facing the light most directly. I'm going to be about 4 inches away. And you see I'm going to get a nice soft gradation. And it's just going to show off that superorbital eminence right there, which is really fantastic. And then we are going to work on the frontal bone right here. And on top of that frontal bone is the frontalis muscle. Sometimes the frontal bone is more prominent and the muscle is more laid back. And then sometimes the frontal bone is more laid back and the frontalis muscle, there's a right and left frontalis muscle. Over here on this side of the superorbital eminence, you see it a little bit weaker, but it's still there. What a great experiment that you all have witnessed. This is a very new thing that may be part of the whole system. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. I think this is a very important night in this technique. So this is really great. You all witnessed it. And just look how much more of a likeness we're getting, which is really, really wonderful. And then right down here, we're getting more light, and we're just going to be pulling that down just like so. And now, you know, with the white, I'm able to sculpt even more that before I didn't by doing that second layer of white after the first initial layer of the India ink. Wayne says he often comes back in with white to help with depth and highlights, but definitely need to keep an eye out. Yes, that dreaded blue shift, right? It's just like waiting for us. Right? It's like Clint Eastwood. Blue shift is like, go ahead, make my day. You know? That's how I feel. Like in Airbrush, that's always like, okay, am I going to make it through the blue shift? Will I traverse it and circumvent its wrath, right? So that's always something that we always have to take into consideration. Now right here we have a little area of light, but that doesn't really need to be there, and it's not worth the risk because it's such a small area. These large areas, yes, it's definitely worth the risk of coming in with that, right? And then sculpting some more with the eraser. You can erase away the white once more and start to bring back some of that paper underneath, and then we could actually, as Dwayne said, you know, get the depth that we're looking for, which is really important, right? But still worrying about that blue shift. Right here on the underside of the zygomatic bone and the space between the zygomatic bone and the mandible, or in layman's terms, the cheekbone and the jawbone, right? So there's going to be this little bit of light, little slit of light right there. And so I'm going to go for it. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's make this happen. So I'm going to be about 3 inches away, and I'm going to be super, super careful. And you see how I hit that. It's a little bit strong. We can always calm it down. That's not a concern. There we go. And bring this over. So really enjoying working on the white in this late stage. I mean, it's really fantastic. I'm very happy with it. And it just like Mr. Dwayne says, it adds more, a little more modeling in this early stage. Why not, right? Let's go ahead and kind of mold this area here of the zygomatic bone coming down. There we go. And we can get rid of some of these pencil lines, which are superfluous at this point. And so what I'm going to do, please hang out. I'm just going to go ahead and use the little boys' room. And then when we come back, we're going to start working on the cast shadow and the clavicle and areas like that. I'll be right back, guys. We have another half hour to go. Thank you so much. So the hot chocolate is now making way for water. So now we had the bad, now in with the good. All right, so I think we're in good shape. Oh, Dwayne says that really is making it pop, adding a whole new dimension to the work. It really does. Thank you, Dwayne. Yeah, I'm surprised. Kind of happened by accident since I had the white mixture late in the game. I was like, why not, right? So that's when things happen. So I appreciate that, sir. And so now, let's get that custom stencil again, because now we can know that Drew Blair 50/50 illustration white is now nice and dry. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start creating some dimension, but this time we're going to be using the detail mixture to achieve this. And you come right over here. So it's amazing how this technique has grown from when I started doing this in 2017 with this technique. Just how it's grown and kind of went full circle. You know, I'm really very thankful for, you know, everyone sticking with me and, you know, encouraging and believing and trying the inks and everything. It just really helped this to become, you know, a really nice system that can help a lot of people, including myself, learn how to control this crazy thing called the airbrush, you know? And we will make sure we go ahead and really start modeling the shadow that is right underneath her mandible or chin. And let's make this happen, my friends. We don't want under spray, so we want to make sure that we put those magnets right on the edge there. And we're going to put our Vega off to the side. And now we're back to Extreme Patriot Arrow. And I always check, this is an important thing to check. Make sure that everything is lined up with your needle guide, everything with that. Make sure that there's no stickiness in the nozzle for any kind of dried ink or dried paint, depending on what you're painting with. And now you put your backing on. And now you know that your airbrush is working correctly. So now that we're here, let's go ahead and just, so here's important. So we have the magnets here, but we definitely need the magnets right on the edge. We don't want underspray going into our jawline. So we have to make sure those magnets are right on that edge, right? So important. And so I'm about 3.5 to 4 inches away, and I'm not trying to hit that dark, make that dark just yet. So I'm just very quietly and gradually I'm going to build that up with the detail mixture. It's very transparent, and so we have to take our time. I'm going to raise the air pressure just a little bit to lower the atomization, or increase the atomization, I should say. Otherwise it'll come out very dropletty, you know? Or you don't see, texture is great in airbrush, and that's all the rage, but you want to make sure that you're not getting texture when you don't want it. Too much texture is just as bad as no texture. And you want to make sure that you are creating very slowly this tonal framework, and that's important, you know? So right now we're just very lightly creating this shape here, down here where the sternocleidomastoid meets the clavicle. Actually, that's the sternum, sorry about that. And then we have this beautiful edge here, right here, we want to make sure that we establish. And we have that ability now with the freehand shield. And so we have this right over here, which is the dark of the shape that's being made with the sternocleidomastoid. But remember that one thing we had with the stump. I kind of like that especially because the stump allows us to make those decisions a little more gradually. See that we could definitely you know, be a little more careful with the airbrush. It seems a little more, I don't know, a little more do or die. So if I just come in and with the little bit of graphite that's on here, I can establish this form a lot easier, erase it if I don't like it. But if I go in with the India ink, I don't have such such luxuries. So now this is great. I have this ability to ease into this. And all this is really paying attention to the forms, the anatomy that makes us all universal with one another, right? And no matter who you are, or what size you are, we all have this anatomy. And I really feel that that's like what I've been missing in years past, was getting a real profound knowledge of anatomy and trying to grow with it, because I think that's the anatomy that kind of connects us to even the people who pose for the paintings of the old masters in the 1600s. So yes, I mean, we do have better cameras and video and everything, and we see people in new ways, but you know what, in all the new ways we still have the same clavicle and sternocleidomastoid and the mental protuberance. We all have that, and really knowing that and kind of expressing that, to me, feels like I'm a little more in touch with the humanity of everything. Same thing with over here, right? I have this clavicle, so I might as well take this stump that still has some graphite on it, and let me just go ahead and indicate this, and I can always come back with the airbrush and the India ink, but now it allows me to establish it. And let's say I hate it, like Tim, I hate that. I can just go in there and totally get rid of that. But if I like it, I can keep it there, lighten it up, go over it with the airbrush, and I could allow myself to be a little more free to say, hey, what if I darkened that? Or, you know, what if I accentuated that? And I can do that with this stump with just a little bit of graphite on it. That makes total sense. It really does. The ends justify the means. Whatever gets us to point A is really important and not to be dismissed, right? So it's so important to be free to go ahead and be bold and try something new. Because you know what? One day something new may be the established way, and then eventually the old way. But if we don't try the new, then we may never find out. I need to be a lot more daring in my technique, and I'm working on it, everybody. You know, but being a pragmatic artist with the education, the art education I have, I run into the danger of replacing that kind of innovation with sticking dogmatically to tradition. So it's a slippery slope, isn't it? You know, on one hand, you definitely want to keep into the tradition in which you were fortunate enough to learn, but still you want to take it to a new place. You don't want to take it where your mentors take it. You want to go further. I tell my students, I want you to pass me. I want you to go way past me and do your own thing. And nothing would make me happier than, you know, all of my students passing me up. You know, nothing would make me happier. And I think that's the mark of a teacher who really loves teaching and cares about their students, because my teacher always had that feel. I always felt that with Harvey, that he always wanted me to excel past him. And I felt that. And there we go. We can put in this shadow. So it's great. So we can put in this shadow, then go over it with the Airbrush India ink, and then all of a sudden you were able to be more daring. But you know, with airbrush, a lot of times when you put something down, it's for keeps, so you better get it right. But with this way, I don't have to get it right. I can just basically sketch with this stump with a little bit of graphite on it, and then I could work out my anatomy, and now I can go to town. So love that idea. Okay, so now let's go ahead and continue building the shadow underneath the mandible or jawbone. I'm about 4 inches away because I'm a little bit darker now, so I'm going to actually be a little bit closer. And down here, I'm going to be more perpendicular than parallel. And just continuing to work out Paola here. We have to worry about not getting too wet. It's a serious concern. So, but right now we have this part right here, which is the trapezius as it comes down over here. So we want to model the form of the trapezius as it turns towards the light. Just ever so lightly, you want to follow that grain of the trapezius here. So in the description field, if you're interested, if you haven't taken my course before, in the description is my course. It is about, I think it's around 4 or 5 hours of going step by step with the portrait. And there's a link, and it's only $149. It comes with the custom stencils, the white pastel, a stump, sandpaper, 2 line drawings, and the eraser, which is really great. You have 2 pencil line drawings to work from, which is really great and allows you to really experiment and start, so you don't have to worry about the drawing being exact. I make the drawing for you, send it to a packet with that course, and the great thing about the course, it's $149. You can go at your own speed. You could stop and start, and that's going to be published forever. So $149, you have access to that course over and over again. And you could, and it picks up where you left off. You can start again. It's really great. I send you a second line drawing, so the first one you can do, and then you could even refine it. So I really love it. And so it's in the description, and check it out. I really think that if you're interested in this technique, interested in getting a lot more bang for your buck for your airbrush, meaning more control, then you'll love it. This is what I'll even do. With that $149, you get a free full set of my Airbrush India inks, and you get Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white mixed by me, so you can see what exactly it does here. So definitely check it out. And again, the link is in the description. So if you have any questions, just email me, Timothy, paintedglyphs@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to answer. So now we're just kind of working down here. Brad, have a Merry Christmas. Thanks so much for hanging out, and thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate you, sir, and I hope you have a great day tomorrow. And thank you so much, my friend. So we see it gets a little darker over here, because this right here, this little area right here, is where the sternocleidomastoid kind of comes up. And so that's why we have this dark right here. And the sternocleidomastoid attaches to the sternum right here. And then over here it attaches to the clavicle. So my job right now is to make all these forms turn. Make the clavicle turn, that's a different form. Make the sternum turn, the muscles such as the trapezius, make that turn. Very important, because although they're smaller forms, they're still being affected by the light. And if we go ahead and make it our point to make every little form turn, then when the painting's done, it's going to be super three-dimensional, right? It's going to be super realistic, and you're going to have that photorealism, but even on a deeper photorealism, because you're going beyond the photo. The photo does not show you where that superorbital eminence is. it shows you an indication, but knowing anatomy, you can take that to the next level and make her even more realistic. So that is, it's sort of like photorealism that's steeped in the knowledge of painting and the knowledge of what we're painting, which is the human form. So we definitely, the more information we have of the person we're painting, the more we'll have to say and the more profound our painting will be. Just a natural progression all the way. Right down here, I'm going to go perpendicular and not parallel. I want to bring this dark down here. So we're not just doing this large shape, because within this large shape there are several forms, such as the sternocleidomastoid, you know, right here on both sides. We have the neck, of course. We have the cast shadow of her jaw, casting down on this area, the quote-unquote neck. Now what's interesting is that you have on the back side you have the trapezius, but the trapezius doesn't extend any further than here. And then you have the sternocleidomastoid that's coming from the sternum and the clavicle. It kind of splits up and then goes into one, and then that muscle goes back here. There's a lot of space in here. There's really no muscle in here, but the way that God designed people is that there's this kind of skin-like, kind of textury, kind of muscle kind of thing. It's called the platysma. It's almost like a wetsuit that goes over it, goes over the gap of where the trapezius and the sternocleidomastoid kind of have this gap here, and that platysma is kind of that wetsuit. So it's interesting. It's all very interesting, and it keeps my interest very much. So now you see how I'm actually building up that cast shadow and how it gets much darker right on the edge of that mandible, right into, and you just got to watch out that you don't build up too much value on that acetate. Right over here we have a value. This whole area is a value. That's a little bit darker. But I can keep the paper here, and then right here just get a little bit darker. So I'm going to be approximately 4.5 to 5 inches away. And I want to do a gradation from over here to the trapezius down to the deltoid. So I'm just going to increase my distance as I go down to this area. So this way I have this beautiful gradation. So right here about 3 inches, and as I come further down, I'm increasing my distance to probably about 6 inches. And just like the way light falls off when you go further away from the light source, the same thing with the airbrush. It uses the same principle. So the further you are the airbrush from the actual surface, the more of a strong fall off you're going to get of the value of the ink or the paint that you're using. It's all very interesting, and it's very scientific. The more I paint, the more science creeps its way in or reveals itself in my work, in my teaching. Science and fine art are really one and the same. And again, not to harp on it too much, I really feel that what's missing in AI is the fact is that there's emotion and that humanity. AI will never have humanity, never could, never will, and it'll always be. Now, the people who may buy it may not have a humanity in themselves, and that's probably why they like it so much or why they created it. So a robot is never going to be human. And so same thing, an AI painting is never going to be a work of art. It's always just going to be a work of an algorithm. You guys all do paintings, you guys and girls all do paintings, and you know, there's no algorithm. It's your emotion, it's your life experience, and that's what makes it special. And you know what? And then you can also take what the AI has, which is the analytical qualities, the science, the anatomy. You can take what that has too and apply it with the human quality, and that's the magic that AI will never have. And I always got to be careful because I can get very emotional with AI and say things that really aren't intelligent but filled with emotion. But now, as I'm just quietly painting with you guys and talking, I really can see it for what it is and what it isn't. So sometimes, there was a while back, not too long ago, I was very, very intimidated by AI. That it's going to, you know, make artists starve even more. What I feel about AI is I feel that AI is going to weed out those who aren't in it for the purest emotion. I think those who are in it for the quick buck, the artists who are in it for the money, they're going to go away. They're going to find something else to do. They're not going to continue. So in a way it's good because it's going to weed out the weak. When I mean weak, I mean the fact is that they aren't in it for the love, that they wouldn't do it for free. Even so, I would do this for free if I never got paid for it. I would continue it, whether I get money or not. But those who are in it for the money, they're going to go bye-bye. And that's good because it opens up opportunity for those who really have it in their heart. So, in a way, I welcome the AI in a strange way because I think it's, like I said, it's going to weed out those whose intentions are not as pure. Yes, we all have to make money. That's so important. But, you know, I'd rather buy a piece of artwork from someone who is really in love with the process and really loves painting and so exciting, and they think about it even when they're away from their studio. They're thinking about painting and thinking about art supplies. Oh, Merry Christmas, Mr. Todd. Thank you so much. You are amazing, my friend. Thank you for the Super Chat sticker. And I look forward to hanging out and talking to you in the future, definitely in 2023. Dwayne says that he paints from his mind, not from pictures. AI can't do that. That's amazing. That's really great, Dwayne, because your work has such a beautiful realism, so that makes it even more impressive, sir. Paul, Merry Christmas, all the way from Indiana. Thank you, my friend. So I'm so glad you were here. So that is so cool. So yeah, AI is a great discussion, and we definitely should touch on that. You know, how important AI is. This is pretty dry, so I feel confident that I can maybe come in this a little bit here. That's why I waited. So this area is a little bit thicker, so I'm just going to do this. And you can see we're doing that kind of framework here. And just in a moment, I'm going to lift up this, and we can see how by developing this particular cast shadow, how that's going to be really important in the development of the portrait, and that her head is actually sitting on her spine, and is being supported by the trapezius and the sternocleidomastoid and the platysma and all of these other muscles and bones. So really does help. And so Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you so much for the super chats. I mean, I am so touched and thankful for everybody. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of people here. You know what? But I would take the people here than having 75, 100, 200, 1,000 people. I would take this any day. To have people who are like-minded, that love art, that think about it, that spend their money, their discretionary income on art, that would do it whether they were paid for it or not. I'd rather hang out with you guys. So thank you for, reinforcing and encouraging the fact of why I started the live streams in the beginning, why I started this YouTube channel since 2008, right? And you know what? I only have 4,061 subscribers, but you know what? Each and every subscriber is important to me. And you know what? I'd rather have 4,061 subscribers, worked on over time, worked to get to know over time, and having overnight millions of subscribers. So thank you for that, and always helping me to realize that that's important. So we're going to take a look at Paola and see what it looks like, and you can see how she really is coming to life. And of course we have this little line here, see that? And we're going to work on that, and that's an easy fix, right? See, with the custom shield, we just missed that a little bit. Easy to do. But you can see now that we can go ahead and just start to work this out, and it's an easy fix. Nothing that we can't do. And then just to darken this area here, and now we're just going to assimilate that by erasing, getting rid of the hard edge and going over it, and that's a great way. And thank you, Dwayne, and people like you really make this group what it is, so I appreciate it. We're at 11:30. Thank you for such an amazing live stream, everybody. Paola is coming to life little by little, thanks to the encouragement by everybody. And I will see you guys soon. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. You are all amazing, and I am so super encouraged. So just thank you, everybody, from the bottom of my heart for being here, for being positive, and for giving me the encouragement I so sorely needed. It's so amazing when that happens just at the right moment. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah. And I hope and pray that everyone has the most amazing holiday season. I will see you all very soon.